party conference. The only party conference in the UK willing to say a woman, adult, human, female. Isn't it? Oh, I haven't got my microphone on. I was just shouting, you know. Isn't it mad? I'm too excited. So, you'll hear me better in a minute, people at home. I've got a wind thing, and there's no wind. So, Keir Starmer this morning. What a legend. As we well know, what Keir did. Please work. Would somebody be willing in a minute to have a look at the chat on my live stream? And if people are going, we can't hear you, could they let me know? Oh, I better just check this. I'm such an absolute idiot. They can hear me. Can you hear me better like this, people? Just asking. Because other people might be sound and vision. I'm so sorry. Working class, northern, birthing person. Also can't find the words to say a woman is an adult human female. And before we bask in the glory of the that I've yet to hear Boris Johnson say the same. So you've all been given postcards. On those postcards is the transphobic dog whistle, which the TRAs keep sharing as if I've finally admitted what it is, because it's not actually a dictionary definition. So code, you send it to anybody you feel needs reminding. They're quite pretty. They might get put up on a notice board or most likely in the bin, but do send them, because I think now is the time. I recently said on a live stream that if I was politically astute and in politics, now would be my time to stand up and stick up for women, because I just think the tide is turning enough. If it keeps going, and I'm just going to ignore the fact that all the institutions are captured, but public discourse is turning. It might not be that the NHS is going to stop having pride flags everywhere. I don't think it will. I don't think the police are suddenly going to turn around and stop insisting that men who call themselves women in the force are allowed to put their hands inside your female suspect pants. I don't think some of these are going to happen. The institutions are going to be difficult, but it will be very hard for them if they're continuing this message and nobody's buying it. And people are not just not buying it, but they're saying, I'm not buying it. I'm not happy with this. You need to stop. The PCCs who have recently been elected and spoken up, that's a really positive sign. But look, female politicians, who I'm sure watch everything I ever do, female politicians in particular, it is now that you become important in your party if you actually say, go against the grain, stand up, be brave and be counted, because I definitely feel it will reap rewards. Because when everybody realises that, oh, I don't know, women don't have penises, that it's wrong to give children puberty blockers, that actually biological material reality, unlike reported in the Lancet, is important, valuable, and the truth, which actually the undermining of truth is such a massive issue. But when everybody realizes this is going on and they say no, then what will happen is you will become a leader. You will be the person that everyone turns to and go, you know, when everybody said that women do have penises, that woman stood up. And therefore, I think that she has enough conviction to lead her party. I don't know whether Rosie Duffield has those ambitions, but surely someone in the Labour Party is willing to actually think, A, I want to be leader, and B, this is the way I'm going to do it. Let's just think that they are greedy, power-crazed individuals who want to lead their party, and I think they should do that. Right, this reformers tree, the reason we meet here is because all the way over there are a lot of men arguing about the afterlife. And we're more interested in our actual lives. I think it's perfect. It's quite relaxed. It's very civilized. Please stand up and talk. If you want to say who you are, why you're here, how far you've come. I think the furthest person today is going to have come from Poland. So if you can do that, that'd be great. As many of you to speak as possible. Try and keep it relatively short. I struggle with that. But yeah, welcome. Who would like to speak? Come on, come on. What a lovely bib you're wearing. Well, I was going to ask what I thought what I was having. So I took out an insurance for loss or damage. I waited for 3 years.
And by taking hormones and puberty blockers, they will make themselves fertile and very good armour, big tech, and big money, all of whom are the driving forces behind movement. So, mermaids, now with all its horrible things it does to women, all its nasty eugenic tests that it shoves into the mix, is going to be the scandal of the 2030s and 2040s. We did have a couple of moles in the Modern Family show, and we're waiting for their report. They were a bit shocked when they came out and said, I'm afraid they said they thought it was even worse than they thought it was going to be. So we'll be putting some more stuff up on our website very soon, but surrogacy in the same way as it's linked with porn, prostitution and sex clubs. It's all about using women as objects. Oh, sorry, Poker.
Right. Everybody was saying we lost a bit of sound. Sorry about that. Someone else. Can I pin this on you? You can.
Hello, my name's Louise. I'm from Sheffield. I can't afford to be here because I don't have money for the train ticket. And I've wanted to come since you started doing it, and then a really good friend of mine cycled over to my house last week with some money and said, get that ticket, get down there and tell him. And I said, all right then. So, we've all the we need to have a bit of a laugh. I need to have a laugh about it because it's just too foul. And
I'd like to say something to, first off I'd like to mention old vinegar tits herself, Judy Butler, and I'd like to tell her, get a pen, love, write this down, let's see if you can
stupid.
then just look at it for 10 minutes. Owen Jones, boy arms. There's nothing you can do, it's pathetic little boy arms.
You're all pathetic.
You're gonna lose, activists. We all know what a woman is. I'm one. It's very exclusive. You've got to be born one. You can't make yourself into one. You've got to be born one. Anybody else that I'd really like to slate everybody. You're all going to lose your seat because we're not going to vote for you.
just an order of that, just leave people's houses for a living, for Christ's sake. But absolutely nobody, no legal power. But I do know, ordinary people know the truth. Ordinary people know. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello. I realise we're having sound issues. I don't know why, because I charged this to the nth degree yesterday. So what we might say to people, if you stand a bit closer to the camera, that would help. Anyone else? Yes. It's not working. Sorry. I'll come in closer so that
I've got a loud voice. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melanie. I'm from South London. I've been coming to these meetings for the last year, and I found
But I would call him a man. So where are our protectors and defenders of women? I have this conversation with my husband. He's watching. The Lancet, which is a highly respected medical journal, mentions the word man, but barely women. Is woman a dirty word? No. We are now bodies with vaginas. Why aren't our husbands and boyfriends quiet about this? Why are they silent? And why do they keep repeating the same mantra? Trans women are women. Is it because, as Julie Birchall said, they all secretly want a little bit of penis? Tell me, why? Enough is enough. I've had conversations with girlfriends. Mel, please be quiet, please be kind. It's not kind. In fact, I had a conversation last week with a girlfriend of mine for 35 years who said to me I was hateful and horrible, which was incredibly hurtful. We cannot change sex. Mammals cannot change sex, and whatever you identify yourself as, that doesn't mean that's what you are. When I was 10 years old, I wore lacy gloves, I put a beauty spot above my lip, I sang Holiday in Like a Virgin. I was not Madonna. I could dance, I could sing, I still do that now. I identified as Madonna, but I was more Maradona because I'm Argentinian, but I was still a woman. I was a young girl. Why are feelings now important? Why are men's feelings really important? And then again, I hate this mantra, standing brave. Be brave and strong. As long as they're okay and they're not hurting anyone, everything's all right. I'm sorry, but that's not true. This is bullshit. Young women who have had young children believe in this diversity and inclusion. They don't want to debate. They don't want to talk. They cancel. Don't be hateful. Don't be horrible. This is bullshit. We need to talk now and be defiant. Being nice doesn't get you anywhere. Being silent and not saying anything is cowardly. I know it's harsh, but every sticker that you put up, every conversation that you have with someone is going to make a slight difference. I'd rather be hated and cancelled than live a lie. And I'm not going to kiss ass to men with their weird, twisted fantasies about being a woman. You can't be me. You ain't ever going to be me. You can't change your sex, and men can never be women. Yay!
Thank you very much. I have to say, I think it's more brave to do nothing, because what we stand to lose if you don't stand up for it, I think that's a much worse prospect than actually an immediate thing of saying the truth. God, can you imagine? Can you imagine if none of us had said anything? Can you imagine if none of us had encouraged people to do something about the GRA reform, which I'm sure many of you went out with leaflets and clipboards and told people all about it? Can you imagine? Mental. Can you imagine if you'd had a whole organisation devoted to saving the Labour Party? Right, so, would anyone else like to speak? Hi, if you stand here, we are having sound issues, but I think this is kind of working.
All right. Hi everyone, I'm from Essex Resistors today, and be prepared. Lovely people over there. Be prepared to take a few notes, just a few notes. You might need this. So there's something. This is news from the world of data collection. So there's something called the UK Statistical Authority, so UKSA, and two of their goals are to assist in the development and evaluation of public policy. So they collect information in order to develop policies, and then they check if those policies are working. That's their job. And then they also are tasked, among other things, with regulating the quality of. Have you counted them correctly? And are they what you said they were? And as we know, this is really, really important. So as boring as my job is in data collection and analysis, it's actually fun. And we are counting them. And that way everybody counts and everybody is counted. I think that's on their website somewhere. Very catchy. So recently they did something called the Inclusive Data Task Force. So you want to write that down if you're taking notes. The Inclusive Data Task Force, and the results of that are launching on Tuesday. So their report is coming out on Tuesday. Now this reflects all of the protected characteristics and so that launches on Eventbrite. So if anybody's interested, you can look up Inclusive Data Task Force and Eventbrite, and you should find it. And all of this information is available to the general public. It's just hard to know if you're not in the right position or profession. And then the last thing you want to write down is, I used to be a teacher, is the Office for Statistics regulations. So between the UKSA and the OSR, between them, I forget how the relationship works, but between them, they are basically in charge of managing data across the country and certainly across government. And so they asked for a consultation some time ago to develop guidance on collecting and reporting data about sex in official statistics. And I do think a few of the big groups that we'll all be familiar with, I think No XY and XX prisons, I think they contributed. So it was out there. They have developed the draft guidance, and they are still taking feedback from anyone, organizations, members of the public. So if you go to Office for Statistics Regulation, guidance on collecting and reporting data about sex in official statistics, somewhere down the page there will be a link where they said they are still welcoming additional feedback, even though the original consultation is closed. So that's 2 or 3 things there where you can just send an email, make your voice heard, and let the people who are doing the counting know what problems we've had in counting things properly and what good counting looks like. So thank you very much.
I don't know if it's today, 3 years ago today, there were quite a few of us sat having a picnic to celebrate Venice Allen and Linda Bellos' victory over an absolute lunatic taking them to be privately prosecuted. Do you want to talk about that?
Maybe less.
Okay. So there was a nice. It was a private prosecution. The guy was a little bit frightened about Linda Bellos, who said something on a screen about defending herself, and that clearly was a terrifying prospect of a woman in her 70s, 60s, 70s, saying that she wouldn't stand up, she wouldn't lie down if some bullies tried to attack her. And that was enough to get him to mount a private prosecution against Venice for recording it, which clearly is also a massive trigger. And then as we were sat there, I got a call from Sky News. Did I want to go and debate somebody about the billboard that got taken down 3 years ago? And they said it was Adrian Harrop, and I was like, oh, a doctor, he might be quite good at, he might be quite informed. I debated, thinking, well, what am I going to say? What should I say? And I was like, well, you know, I've got the truth on my side. I forgot about his impotent rage. I forgot that he would bring his hatred and he would show it to everybody. And actually, all Harrop needed to defeat him was just a smile, just a little dose of truth. I remember coming out the studio and I was like, oh, do you think I did all right? I was with a woman called Hannah. I was like, do you think I did all right? She goes, yeah, well, I think you did all right. I think it was all right. And then we bumped into the poshest person ever who's like, oh, bloody hell, we just stopped the whole bloody office. You were magnificent. I was like, oh, I'm going to take your review. But I still just remember him saying, and his face when he says, but you appropriated the word woman. That we all, if you haven't seen it, I've called it Baby Shipman on my channel. But he says that we appropriated, and I think actually, whilst he probably regrets saying that, I do think that that's what they think. That we have appropriated this term woman for ourselves. And I like to think, as opposed to appropriated, the word kept. We've kept woman for ourselves. We've stupidly loaned it for all these things, like that person looks womanly. Well, what does that mean? Do I look more womanly or less womanly than Pamela Anderson? I mean, is there a sliding scale? Or actually, do you look womanly if you're just a woman? Somebody said, oh, India passes as a woman. I was like, yeah, but he is a man, therefore India Willoughby looks like a man, like every single other man who wears womanhood costume. They're still men, so they look like men by virtue of the fact that they're men. These two blades of grass may look completely different, but they're still grass. Anyway, that was a convoluted point. I'm just so terribly pleased with myself about the Sky News. Anybody else? Come on, if you don't talk. Come on. Any twins want to talk? Oh, we've got two sets. We've got two sets. Oh, there's more twins. Any, come on. Come on. Do you want to talk? No. Mr. Travers. Oh, you want to come on then? Don't make me beg, Bernadette. Jesus. Right, I think it's working now. I think it was my Bluetooth headphones that were messing up.
I didn't proper prepare, but I just thought people might be interested.
Come on. How are you? Perfect.
So I'm reading off this. So I'm the UK contact for the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights, and if you haven't signed the Declaration, I really would urge you to sign it and support it. I just thought I'd share with you the reason why a global document like this is so important. So there was a report recently from the Global Philanthropy Project, and I just want to read you what they said about this document. And I think, well, when you hear it, you'll realise why we need it. So in a section at the bottom of this particular report they produced, they said, the Declaration of Women's Sex-Based Rights. The language of human rights, and specifically women's rights, is also being co-opted and weaponised against gender justice, particularly trans and non-binary people's rights, by so-called gender-critical feminists, also known as trans-exclusionary radical feminists. They use the framing and the language of the Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women to issue the Declaration of the Women's Sex-Based Rights. This document is profoundly cis-normative, gender-restrictive and trans-exclusionary, using language and arguments that resonate strongly with those gender-restrictive groups. The document rejects gender identity and claims that anatomical, particularly reproductive differences between people determine their identity and cannot be changed. Following this flawed reasoning, they refuse to recognise the womanhood of trans women and demand that women's rights, instruments and spaces, as well as policies intended to advance gender equality, address exclusively the needs of the people they call human females and exclude those who are not assigned female at birth. And then there's an awful lot more, and then there's another part which talks about the bill, and I think this is when they talk about there was a bill trying to go through in Spain that was fought. So in January, the bill, which was in Spain, created a strange bedfellow situation in which gender-critical feminists of the PSOE, the Spanish Socialist Workers' Party, and Vox, a far-right gender-restrictive party, worked towards the same goal, preventing the bill to become law, as if somehow women maybe just as a class kind of got together and thought, this is crap, we need to fight together and we're going to put our political differences aside. That wasn't in the report, that was just me. In January 2021, a group of 8 well-known historic feminists, this is again about the Spanish situation, continued to fuel the fire by making public statements against it. As in the declaration, they categorically rejected gender identity, insisting that only sex-based rights should be recognised. And you may think, so what is this got to do with us? And why is a global philanthropy project really that important? You've not heard of it or anything, but this gets sent to really important people around the globe. And it ended with, when funding feminist and or women's organisations, progressive funders should engage in due diligence work to ensure they are not inadvertently supporting trans exclusionary organisations, groups, collectives or scholars. So they are actively working at an extremely high level to undermine funding to women only spaces across the globe. Please sign the declaration. It is used around the world. There are certain places in the world that could never, maybe on their own, might go for a cup of tea with somebody because there's one other person they know that's fighting this. So please add your name, and it is used around the world. Thank you very much. Sorry? Oh yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Hi, I'm Cassie from just down the road. Sorry I'm late. Right, 2 seconds. I came into this in 2018 on Twitter before I was banned in 2019. There was a post about teenage anxiety around periods, and it called females menstruators, and in the replies 500 women said, do not call us that, and we were ignored. That was my introduction. Nothing has changed. In 2014 I was a member of the People's Parliament with Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell. We had evening meetings in Parliament to discuss all the big issues of the day of what would form the first Jeremy Corbyn manifesto. And issues at the time were NHS as always, TTIP, which was under threat, which was the European Union threatening our NHS by selling it out to America. So we discussed all those issues, and I was part of that core set. I was in Jeremy Corbyn's leadership group and went to all his meetings and things like that. And then roll forward, so I was in that core thing when Jeremy was on the front bench and all the policies were going correctly, and then the woke lot came in, and it's postmodernism is a solvent and it destroys everything. It's destroyed women's rights, it's destroyed gay rights, and it destroys everything it touches, and Labour need to realise that. And the thing is, I was friends with Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell because they took a stance on everything. They were over in Ireland with the IRA, they were in Palestine, They were in South Africa fighting apartheid, but you know what? They are silent when it comes to women's rights, and they've allowed women in their own party to be abused, and Labour can now not be in power, and I will actively campaign against them being in power. And when lies get put into law, truth becomes crime, and that is what has happened from the GRC. And I now support Paige Parker and Sarah and anyone else who's campaigning to get rid of bad laws which criminalise women being able to speak our truth and our reality about our bodies and our sex, which no man can ever be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a reference to, well, we've been saying, quite a few of us now for a long time have been saying repeal the GRA. Illegal fiction is a terrible thing. And it's a question that maybe you can use your postcards to ask your MPs. I mean, you don't have to use a postcard, you can also talk to them. You can call them, send them emails, whatever it is. Ask them, upon the basis that the GRA was designed to pretty much say it was okay for same-sex couples to marry, and that was like the impetus. And Norman Tebbit in 2004 said, I never realised I was going to be ever quoting this man. All I see when I see Norman Tebbit is the spitting image version of him. But he asked, and he didn't get a very good answer. In fact, he didn't get an answer at all. Are we really putting into law that a woman can have XY chromosomes and a man can have XX? Because that's biologically false. And in fact, if you read Hansard, I mean, don't spend your whole day, but just look for keywords. If you look for transsexual, some of the things that come up, Norman Tebbit and Anne Widdecombe were asking about what would happen to these people when it came to prisons. They were asking the really important questions, and frequently what was said is like, it's not like someone with a beard is going to be considered to be a woman. And it was all the things that have happened that actually, even if you just took yourself away from what you know for 5 seconds, it's implausible, all the things that have happened. That's why it's so difficult to convince people who don't know anything about it that actually on the BBC right now it is more acceptable for a man on a CBBS programme to call himself a woman than a woman be on a serious programme saying actually a woman is an adult human female. And if you tell people that, they genuinely don't believe it. So that was the first question I asked at the Baroness's webinar. The next one is that we need to ask politicians why it is that we've got political colours all over our NHS and our police force and all our institutions. There's nothing we can really mandate for private enterprises, but maybe you could ask your MP that as well. If the police is supposed to be no fear or favour, how is it that they happily raise a pride flag, LGBT, Trans History Month, Trans Remembrance, Trans Bin Day, Trans Second Thursday, remembering the trans before the trans on a Trans Day? How is it that we have all those days and they're treated with all seriousness as important? And then so that's the LGBT political movements in our institutions. That's repealing the GRA. And then the other one is just about concise language. The fact that saying a woman, adult, human, female, often people will caveat that with, I'm not transphobic, but, or they will talk about it even on Twitter, or even in this particular meeting, and you'll hear some of the language, male-bodied. No, man. Yes. Not male-bodied. The only people that are male-bodied and adults are men. So no more male-bodied, no trans-identifying male. The words are man, boy. That covers every single person on this earth born with a penis. Man, boy. And then when we're looking at women, girl, woman. And actually, if you're apologising for that language, then eventually you are part of the problem. So we just have to speak rationally and truthfully. It's not unkind to speak the truth. It's not unkind. It's much less kind to convince a whole generation of children that they can change sex and it's actually a choice. What your body is a choice. It's not. Much more progressive to your daughter, you're a girl and do you know what, you can do anything, except probably beat any of the boys at a race when you're about 15 in school. So anybody else want to say anything before I wrap up? Anybody else? No. Mr. Menno is going to talk for however long. No, you can talk however long, and he's not going to even mention his penis.
I call it a purple-headed yogurt slinger. Okay, I haven't really prepared anything, but today actually marks a year for me speaking out publicly about this craziness. And having been to, this event and also protests in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and recently in Cardiff, it's so important that we do this in real life. You get placards, you get bags, you get stickers, you speak out and you simply say, I'm not buying it. Trans women are women. No. Trans men are men. No. Lesbians have penises. No. Gay men have vaginas. No. No. I'm more resolved than ever to keep doing this, because at the end of the day, this is dehumanizing. It dehumanizes all of us. How does it dehumanize us? Because it collapses the material reality of woman into a magical feeling. Equally, it makes man a feeling. There are certain experiences that I've had in life because I am male. The reason why I got abuse and bullying and kicked in the head and called a faggot is because I am male and a particular kind of male. I'm not having any female identifying into that reality and wearing the word faggot as an emblem of pride. No, because it's dehumanizing. How can you say that you stand for human rights when you don't even acknowledge human nature at its most literal, fundamental level, which is our sex? If you can't recognize that, you're not fighting for human rights. Yeah. So, I'm just doing my little videos and my sing-songs and whatever to bring a bit of lightheartedness to it, because we all need to have a laugh to keep us sane, but because I don't like lies. So I always use the hashtag now, gender lies. I keep calling out the gender lies. Yes, when I have little argy-bargies with people on Twitter or wherever, I just say, no, that is a gender lie. Trans kids are real. No, that is a gender lie. Puberty blockers are great. No, that is a gender lie. That surgical penile inversion is a vagina. No, that is a gender lie. And guess why the gender lies are being promulgated? It's called marketing. No. So I'm going to keep calling out these lies, and I think we'll be here again next year and the year after, because it looks like it's a long haul, but I'm in it for the long haul, and we should all just keep doing what we're doing, keep speaking out, whether it's at a protest or a small conversation that you have with someone, and if they say trans women are women, no. Just no. And you don't have to justify that. They're the ones that have to justify it. So let's keep going. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep smiling. And thank you for your support. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the live stream in a minute and tell all you people where the pub is, which I don't really know. So I'm going to ask somebody else to tell you people where the pub is. Look, it does make a difference coming here. The next one we're going to have, I'm going to also tell you off camera, but it does make a difference just being able to look at someone and go, they're not an idiot. They understand. They know the truth. I don't even have to apologise when I speak. So thank you for you people at home, and my most amazing gratitude goes to all of you people here for coming. Thank you very much. Just wait with me.